Hello students, in this video we are going to explain the equilibrium of bilateral monopoly. Bilateral monopoly is a market situation in which a single seller, that is a monopolist, is confronted by a single buyer, that is a monopsonist. The coexistence of monopoly and monopsony is termed as bilateral monopoly. In the coexistence of monopoly and monopsony, we have one seller on one side and one buyer on the other side. In case of monopoly, the seller is having the control, and in case of monopsony, the buyer is having the control. Monopolist want to have maximum profit and monopsonist want to have maximum utility. Therefore, the equilibrium condition is indeterminate. We know that the basic equilibrium condition under monopoly is MC is equal to MR. This is the point of attaining maximum profit to the monopolist. But in case of monopsony, the equilibrium condition is MC is equal to MU and the price of the commodity will be equal to average cost of production. Here, if these two conditions exist, then the price will be fluctuating in between monopoly price and competitive price or monopsony price. There is an upper limit of monopoly price and there is a lower limit of monopsony price. The price will be indeterminate. Price as well as equilibrium will be indeterminate in case of bilateral monopoly. Now let us explain the condition of bilateral monopoly with the help of a diagram. As usual, we have an x-axis and y-axis. On x-axis we have plotted quantity of the commodity and on y-axis we have shown price of the product. This is the normal demand curve of the market, which is normally equal to, since there is only one buyer, this demand curve is equal to the marginal utility curve. Since there is only one seller, this demand curve is the average revenue curve of the monopolist. There is existence of monopoly and monopsony. Therefore, this demand curve is equal to the marginal utility curve as well as the average revenue curve. Corresponding to this average revenue curve, we have a marginal revenue curve MR here. We are going to draw two MC curve. First curve MC1 curve. This MC1 curve is the MC curve from the point of view of the monopsonist. Now we are going to plot the second MC curve, that is MC. This is the actual MC curve of the monopolist. There are two possibilities to identify equilibrium in case of bilateral monopoly. If the monopolist is having more power, he will be identifying equilibrium point where MC is equal to MR. Such a point is identified at point R. And quantity of output is OQ. And price of the commodity will be OPM. This is the monopoly price charged by the monopolist from the market. Because the monopolist is having more power, he is identifying equilibrium at a point where MC is equal to MR. But if the monopsonist, if the buyer is having more power, the viewpoint of the buyer in case of marginal cost is MC1. The buyer thinks that marginal cost of the firm is MC1. And therefore he identifies equilibrium at a point where MC1 is equal to MU. Such a point is identified at R1 and the equilibrium quantity as per the monopsonist is OQ1 and price charged will be equal to OP1. Therefore, if the monopolist is fixing price with his power, he will be charging OPM price and selling OQ quantity. If the monopsonist is fixing output and price, he will be demanding only OQ1 quantity at OP1 price. Therefore, in case of the bilateral monopoly, the price will vary in between P1 and PM. If the monopolist is having more power, price will be very close to PM. And if the monopsonist, if the buyer is having more power, the price will be very close to OP1, that is lower price. Therefore, price and quantity will be fluctuating, or it is not possible to determine the actual quantity and price in case of bilateral monopoly. Here the two parties, the buyer and seller, are having different objectives, different contradictory objectives. That's why it is not possible to determine a fixed quantity, an equilibrium quantity or equilibrium price. Different economists suggested different solutions to this problem, but we can conclude that due to many reasons, the equilibrium condition of bilateral monopoly is indeterminate. Thank you.